Teacher mocked black student's dream. Graduation day changed everything. Ever notice how folks love to preach about dream big until somebody like me actually does it? Then, suddenly, dreaming big becomes a crime. That's the funny thing about life. The same people who hang posters of astronauts and engineers on classroom walls will look you dead in the eye and tell you to stay in your lane. My name's Marcus Carter, 17 years old, senior year at Jefferson High. The kind of school where ambition goes to die if you let it. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad place. They've got shiny banners on the walls. Believe in yourself. Success starts here. But the truth? Most teachers here think success means keeping you out of jail and maybe into a job that pays just above minimum wage. But me? I had a dream that didn't fit their little box. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, not a mechanic, not a guy changing oil at the corner shop, an aerospace engineer. You know, rockets, planes, the big stuff. Ever since I was a kid, I'd sit on the roof of our apartment complex with a beat-up telescope, staring at the night sky like it had answers to all the questions life kept throwing at me. And before you ask, yeah, I was good at math. Loved it. Numbers made sense when nothing else did. While other kids were running wild after school, I'd be at the library checking out books on propulsion systems and fluid dynamics, trying to figure out how the hell people built machines that could punch through the sky. So, picture this. It's a Tuesday morning, dead middle of senior year. I walk into economics class with a grin on my face because I've got news. Real news. I'd just gotten accepted into a summer program for students interested in engineering. Paid internship, exposure to real scientists. The whole 9 yards. My mama cried when I told her. My little sister started calling me Professor. For the first time in a long time, I felt like the universe was finally cutting me a break. And then came the question that changed everything. Miss Thompson, our economics teacher, decided she wanted to inspire us that day. She's one of those teachers folks always call passionate because she decorates the classroom with motivational quotes and drinks herbal tea like it's a personality trait. She looks at the class and says, "Let's do something fun. Everyone share your dream job." Hands shoot up. Doctor, lawyer, NBA player. The usual suspects. Then she calls on me. "Marcus," she says with that smile, the one teachers use when they expect something small, something safe. I sit up straight, chest out. Because why not? This was my moment. "I want to be an aerospace engineer," I say, clear and loud enough for the whole room to hear. Not mumbled, not whispered. Said it like I believed it. And then it happened. She laughed. Not a chuckle, not a polite little smirk. A full-on laugh that bounced off the walls like it had no shame. The class went quiet. You know that awkward silence where you can hear every breath? Yeah, that one. Everyone stared at her, waiting for the punchline. "Oh, aerospace engineer?" she said, dragging the words out like molasses. "That's ambitious." She tilted her head, that fake concern dripping off her like cheap perfume. "But Maybe you should think of something more realistic. Those programs are competitive, very competitive. Maybe try something hands-on, like trade school. You'd be great with your hands. Great with my hands? Lady, the only thing I wanted in my hands at that moment was the diploma to get me out of her class. But I sat there, heat crawling up my neck, trying not to let the room see how much it stung. I heard the whispers, saw the smirks. I could almost hear the headline, "Black Kid Dreams Too Big. Reality Check Delivered by Caring Teacher." I forced a laugh because what else could I do? Crack a joke, swallow the pride, keep the peace. But inside, something twisted. Because it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every kid who ever raised a hand with a dream and got smacked down with somebody else's low expectations. When the bell finally rang, I grabbed my books and walked out with my dignity barely hanging on. But that moment, it stuck, like gum on the bottom of your shoe. No matter how hard you scrape, it's there. Walking out of that classroom felt like walking into a spotlight I never asked for. The hallway buzzed with chatter, lockers slamming like gunshots in the distance. And me? I was the new joke of the day, the rocket scientist who didn't know his place. By the time lunch rolled around, word had spread faster than gossip on Sunday morning. You know how high school is. It's like living inside a rumor factory where everybody's on the night shift. I stepped into the cafeteria and felt it, eyes on me, whispers floating like smoke. "Yo, that's NASA boy right there," someone snickered from a table by the vending machines. Laughter followed, sharp and quick like nails on glass. Another voice chimed in, "Hey, Marcus, build me a rocket so I can launch out of this math test." More laughter. I ignored them, kept my head high, sat down at the table with my boys, or at least the ones I thought had my back. Darnell was scrolling through his phone, trying not to laugh. Trey smirked like he was fighting the urge to say something slick. "So," Darnell finally said, sliding his phone across the table. On the screen, a meme. My face photoshopped on a cartoon astronaut with the caption, "Ground control to NASA reject." My stomach tightened. "You think this is funny?" I asked, voice flat. "Man, chill," Trey said, holding up his hands. "It's just jokes. You know how people are." Yeah, I knew. Folks always say it's just jokes, until the joke cuts deep enough to leave scars. I finished my sandwich in silence, every bite tasting like cardboard. The whole time, Ms. Thompson's words played in my head like a broken record. Be realistic. Be realistic. What does that even mean? Realistic for who? For kids like me? The ones who grow up with cracked sidewalks and ceilings that leak when it rains? The ones who walk past liquor stores and payday loan spots on every corner? See, that's the thing about dreams. They don't come with instructions. And where I'm from, they sure as hell don't come with permission slips signed by teachers like Ms. Thompson. That night, I sat on the roof of our building, my thinking spot. City lights stretched out like a lazy constellation, and somewhere above them, real stars burned quiet and steady, like they were waiting on mouths. I thought about Mama working double shifts at the hospital, coming home with swollen feet, but still asking, "Did you eat, baby?" I thought about my little sister, Layla, who believed in me so hard it scared me sometimes. And then I thought about Ms. Thompson, sitting in her cozy house with her herbal tea, convinced she was doing me a favor by clipping my wings before I even tried to fly. I clenched my fists and whispered into the night, "I'm gonna prove you wrong." The words came out low, but they had teeth. Next day, I tried to keep my head down, but trouble has a way of finding you when you least need it. First period, Mr. Riley, my math teacher, called me up after class. He's cool for the most part, but that morning, his tone had a twist to it. "Marcus," he said, sliding my quiz across the desk, big red C on top. My gut sank. "Look," he continued, "you're smart, but you've been slipping. Late assignments, missing steps in your work. What's going on?" I shrugged. "Just got a lot on my plate." "You planning on college?" he asked, eyebrows raised. "Yeah," I said, "engineering." His lips twitched, like he wanted to smile but thought better of it. "Ambitious, you'll need to step it up. These programs, they're no joke." The words weren't cruel like Ms. Thompson's, but they still felt heavy. Like even the good ones didn't believe all the way. I walked out, clutching that paper like it weighed 10 pounds. My dream was starting to feel like quicksand. The more I reached for it, the deeper I sank. Lunchtime rolled around again, and guess what? The jokes hadn't died. Somebody had taped a paper airplane to my locker with "NASA fail" scribbled across the wings. Real creative. I ripped it down and tossed it, but not before the hallway chorus started up. "Yo, Marcus, when's the shuttle launching? You taking applications for your space crew?" I laughed it off, but inside it was like getting poked by 1,000 little needles. Death by 1,000 jokes. And here's the kicker. Ms. Thompson walked by during the whole circus. You think she said a word? Nah. She smiled like the hallway was a comedy club and kept it moving. That night at dinner, Mama noticed I wasn't eating much. "You okay, baby?" she asked, her eyes soft but sharp, like they could cut through every lie. "Yeah," I mumbled, pushing peas around my plate. She put down her fork. "Marcus Elijah Carter, don't me talk to me." So I told her, not everything, but enough. About the joke, about Ms. Thompson laughing. Mama's face tightened like a storm cloud. "She said that?" "Word for word," I said. Mama took a breath, slow and deep. "Let me tell you something, son. People will try to put you in a box because that's where they feel safe. Don't you dare climb in there just to make them comfortable." I nodded, but part of me wondered, what if the box was all I could afford? That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind ran laps like it was training for a marathon. I thought about quitting the dream just for a second. Thought about how easy it would be to settle for realistic. Maybe get a job after graduation, help Mama out, keep things simple. But then I remembered the look in Layla's eyes when she called me Professor. I remembered the stars waiting on me. And just like that, quitting stopped being an option. If they wanted me to fail, I'd make it hurt for them to watch me win. The week after that dinner with Mama felt like walking through fire barefoot. Everywhere I went, whispers chased me like stray dogs. It wasn't just jokes anymore. It was a full-blown comedy tour with Maya as the headliner, whether I bought a ticket or not. By Friday, the meme had gone school-wide. Someone made a TikTok, my face popping up with rockets exploding in the background, soundtracked by that old cartoon space music. And the worst part? Kids I didn't even know were laughing in my face like they paid for front row seats. I kept telling myself, ignore it, keep moving. But try ignoring the sting of 100 little cuts every time you walk down a hallway that feels like a gauntlet. Then came the day that almost broke me. It was fourth period, right before lunch. Ms. Thompson strutted into class in her usual power heels, clacking across the tile like a judge walking to the bench. She had that fake smile plastered on, the one that screams I'm about to embarrass somebody for educational purposes. "All right, class," she chirped. "Today we're doing something fun. I want everyone to write down their top career choice on the board. It's good to visualize your goals." "Fun," she said. "Visualize," she said. My gut twisted because I knew where this was going. One by one, students marched up and scribbled their dreams: nurse, electrician, influencer, pro athlete. The room buzzed with chatter and laughter, and then it was my turn. I stood, slow like my legs were made of lead, and walked to the board. Felt every eye burning a hole through my back. My hand gripped the marker so tight, my knuckles whitened. And I wrote it. Aerospace engineer. Big letters, sharp strokes. My dream, loud and clear for the world to see. When I turned around, the silence was thick enough to choke on. Then somebody in the back, probably Jamal, let out a whistle. "NASA boy back at it," he yelled. The class exploded like a lit match in a gas station. Laughter ricocheted off the walls. Ms. Thompson didn't stop them. Oh no. She leaned on her desk, arms folded, smirking like she was watching a sitcom. Then she said it, loud enough for everybody to hear. "Well, Marcus, that's ambitious. Again, maybe one day you'll prove me wrong." Again, like my dream was some recycled joke she was tired of hearing. The laughter cut through me like a serrated knife. My face burned, my ears rang, and all I could think was, if I stay here one more second, I'm gonna explode. I walked out, didn't ask, didn't explain, just grabbed my bag and left that room like it was on fire. The hallway was empty, but my chest felt like a war zone. I ducked into the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and sat there with my head in my hands. My heart pounded like a drum line gone rogue. For a second I wanted to scream, punch a wall, something, anything. Instead, I whispered to myself over and over, "They don't get to decide. They don't get to decide." But truth? Part of me wasn't so sure anymore. That night, I skipped dinner. Layla knocked on my door with a plate of fried chicken, her little voice soft. "Marcus, you okay?" "Yeah," I lied, because what else was I gonna say? That the world already decided who I was before I even got a chance? That the walls were closing in and I didn't know how to stop them? She slid the plate inside anyway. "You're still the smartest person I know," she whispered. Then she walked away, her words hanging in the air like a lifeline I wasn't ready to grab. I stared at that plate until the chicken went cold, then shoved it aside and opened my laptop, pulled up the summer program application, stared at it so long the words blurred. My brain screamed, "Why bother?" But my gut said, "Try." So I did. Typed like my fingers were on fire, pouring every ounce of me into that application. Hit submit at 2 a.m., my hands shaking like I'd just run a marathon. But guess what? The storm wasn't done with me yet. Monday morning, I walked into school thinking maybe, just maybe, the jokes had burned out. Wrong. Somebody had plastered the hallway with flyers. My face, photoshopped onto a rocket, with the words, "Countdown to failure. 10, 9, 8. Laughter trailed me all the way to class. By the time I sat down, my chest felt hollow, like somebody scooped me out and left the shell. And then, like clockwork, Ms. Thompson waltzed in, all smiles. She didn't mention the flyers, didn't have to. Her silence was permission. That night, I didn't go to my rooftop, didn't want the stars. They felt too far away, like a joke I wasn't in on. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about what Mama said. "Don't you dare climb into that box just to make them comfortable." I whispered into the dark, "Mama, I'm trying." And that's where I left it, suspended between trying and breaking. You ever notice how life doesn't just hit you once? It keeps swinging until you either hit back or stay down. That's what the next few weeks felt like for me, a heavyweight fight I didn't sign up for. After the humiliation parade at school, I made myself a promise. No more letting these people write my story. I was gonna fight. Harder than ever. But let me tell you, promises are cheap when reality comes collecting. First reality check, money. See, the summer program I applied for wasn't free. It came with expenses, travel, housing, books, stuff that sounded small until you saw the numbers. Mama sat at the kitchen table that night, bills spread out like battlefield maps. "How much, baby?" she asked, her voice calm, but her eyes already bracing for the storm. I slid the paper across the table. She stared at it so long I thought time froze. Then she leaned back, rubbed her temples, and let out a breath heavy enough to crush me. "We'll figure it out," she said finally. The kind of words mamas say when they don't have an answer but need you to sleep at night. So I picked up a job bagging groceries after school. Nothing fancy, just a name tag, a paycheck that looked more like pocket change, and a boss who acted like I was applying for CEO every time I asked for extra hours. You ever bag groceries while kids from your school stroll in, laughing, buying snacks with the money they got from parents who've never worked a day past 5? It's humbling. And by humbling, I mean it grinds you down like sandpaper on bare skin. One Friday, Jamal rolled through with his crew, loud as fireworks. "Yo, NASA boy! You working on rocket fuel or orange juice today?" They laughed like it was the funniest thing since stand-up comedy. I wanted to say something slick, but all I did was scan their stuff and bag it neat. Because that's what you do when you're playing the long game. You take the hit now to win later. But the hits kept coming. School didn't slow down just because I was hustling. Homework piled up like unpaid bills. Late nights turned into early mornings, and sleep became a rumor I heard about but never saw. One night, around 1 a.m., I was hunched over my desk, eyes burning, hands cramping, trying to finish a calculus assignment when Mama knocked. She peeked in, worry stamped all over her face. "Marcus, you can't keep doing this to yourself," she said. "I'll sleep after graduation," I mumbled, not looking up. She sighed, walked in, and kissed the top of my head. "Just remember, baby, even rockets need fuel. You burn out, you're grounded." I smiled, but inside, I was already running on fumes. And then came the second reality check. Miss Thompson wasn't done with me. I thought after that board stunt she'd leave me alone. But no. She doubled down like humiliation was her favorite hobby. Every time I answered a question in class, she'd hit me with that little smirk, the one that said, "Oh, look who's still pretending." One day, she passed back a graded project and paused at my desk just long enough to whisper, "Marcus, you might want to consider a backup plan. Engineering is rigorous." Her voice was sugar, but the words were poison. A backup plan. That phrase sat in my gut like bad food. I wanted to say, "Lady, my whole life has been a backup plan. I'm just trying to live Plan A for once." But I bit my tongue till it hurt. Then came the test that almost broke me. Calculus midterm. The kind of exam that separates dreamers from doers. I studied like a man possessed. Crammed formulas till my brain felt like an overstuffed closet. Walked into that room with a heart beating like war drums. And then, blank. The paper stared back at me, and my mind went dark. Sweat dripped down my neck as the clock ticked like a countdown to doom. I scraped through, wrote what I could, but when the grades came back, C+. Not a fail, but not the kind of grade that screams future engineer. I stared at that paper like it was a death certificate for my dream. That night, I skipped the rooftop again. Didn't want stars. Stars felt like strangers now. Instead, I sat in the dark, laptop glowing in my face, searching for scholarships, internships, anything. My eyes burned, my head pounded, and my chest felt like a vice. Then Layla knocked again, holding another plate. "You didn't eat yesterday," she said softly. "Not hungry," I muttered. She set the plate down anyway and hugged me tight. "You're still gonna make it," she whispered. Then she left, and for a second I believed her. But life wasn't done testing me. The next blow came from the summer program itself. An email. Subject line, "Status update." My hands shook as I clicked. "Dear Marcus Carter, we regret to inform you that you have been placed on the wait list." Wait list. The word hit like a gut punch. Not a no, but definitely not a yes. I read it again and again until the letters blurred. Ms. Thompson's voice echoed in my head. "Be realistic. Be realistic. For the first time, I thought maybe she was right. Maybe I was aiming for a sky that wasn't mine to reach. I shut the laptop and sat there in silence, feeling the weight of every doubt, every joke, every late night crashing down like a tidal wave. But here's the thing about waves. They don't drown you if you learn to swim. I didn't know it then, but that waitlist email? It was the spark, the one that would set everything on fire. The days after that waitlist email felt like walking through molasses. Slow, heavy, every step a fight. I'd wake up, drag myself to school, bag groceries till my legs screamed, then crawl home to textbooks waiting like vultures. Sleep? Luxury item? Energy? Maxed out credit card. But giving up? That wasn't in my DNA. Or so I kept telling myself, even as doubt whispered in the corners of my mind like a slick salesman pitching failure. One Wednesday afternoon, I got called into the counselor's office. Thought maybe it was about college apps, maybe even good news for once. Nah. Ms. Rivera sat behind her desk, papers stacked like tiny tombstones of other kids' dreams. She smiled, the kind of smile dentists give before pulling teeth. "Marcus," she began, "I wanted to check in. I noticed your grades dipped a little this term." "A little?" I laughed, sharp and hollow. "Try nosedived." She chuckled softly, like that made it better. "You've always been a strong student. But engineering programs? They're intense. Have you thought about other options? Something less demanding?" There it was. Backup plan, part 2. Delivered with sugar on top. I leaned forward, my voice steady, but my gut on fire. "I don't need a backup plan. I just need a shot." She nodded, all sympathetic eyes and gentle tones. "Of course, but sometimes reality—" "Reality?" I cut her off. "Reality is people telling kids like me to aim low because it's easier than helping us aim high." Her smile faltered. She shuffled papers like they had answers. "I just don't want to see you disappointed." "Too late," I muttered, walking out before I said something that'd land me in detention. By the time I hit the hallway, my hands were shaking. Disappointed? Lady, I've been disappointed since the day folks decided my zip code was a prison sentence. That night, the tension spilled into home. Mama was sitting at the table again, bills spread out like a bad hand of cards. I dropped my bag and slumped into a chair. "How was school?" she asked without looking up. "Same circus, new clowns," I said. She gave me the look, the one that says, "Don't get slick with me, boy." "Marcus," I sighed. "Counselor said I should have a backup plan." Her head snapped up, eyes blazing like gospel fire. "Backup plan? Baby, you don't need no backup plan. You need these people to get out your way." I smiled, but it didn't stick. Because the truth? The weight was winning. Then Mama dropped the hammer. "Rent's late," she said quietly. I picked up another shift. Might be gone nights now. My chest tightened. Mama working nights meant Layla home alone. Homework alone, everything alone. Guilt chewed through me like acid. "I can get more hours," I offered. "No," she shot back. "You keep your head in those books. That's your job." I nodded, but inside I was screaming. What if the books aren't enough? What if nothing's enough? Friday brought the storm I didn't see coming. First, I bombed a quiz. Not because I didn't know the material, because I fell asleep mid-problem. Head hit the desk, drool and all. When I woke up, Jamal was recording, laughing so hard he nearly fell out his chair. "Yo, NASA boy launching into dreamland," he hollered. Video went viral by lunch. By sixth period, everyone had seen it. Me, dead asleep, mouth open, pencil dangling like a white flag. The captions wrote themselves. future astronaut, can't even orbit consciousness. I tried to shake it off, but then Ms. Thompson decided to make it a public spectacle. Class had barely started when she looked straight at me and said, "Marcus, maybe you should focus on staying awake before you focus on outer space." Laughter detonated like dynamite. My face burned hotter than a furnace. I gripped my desk so hard the wood creaked. You ever feel a rage so sharp it tastes like metal? That was me. Every cell screaming to stand up, clap back, burn that whole room to ash with the truth. But I swallowed it. Because that's what you do when the deck's stacked. You swallow fire till it burns a hole in your gut. After class, I walked out slow, breathing like a man trying not to break. Jamal passed me in the hall, grinning. "Yo, Space Cadet! When's liftoff?" I stopped, turned, and stared him down so hard the grin slid off like grease in hot water. For a second, I wanted to swing. Wanted it bad. But then I saw Layla's face in my head, and I kept walking. Because fists don't build rockets. That night, I hit the rooftop again. First time in weeks. The city glowed beneath me, loud and restless. But the stars? They were quiet, like they knew, like they'd been waiting. I whispered into the dark, "I ain't done." My voice cracked, but the words stood tall. Then I pulled out my phone, opened the summer program email for the 100th time, and stared at that cursed word, waitlist. My thumb hovered over delete, but something in me said no. Instead, I Googled every aerospace scholarship, every STEM camp, every competition in a 200-mile radius. I applied to 5 before the sun came up. Eyes burning, heart heavy, but hope still breathing. And that's when the universe decided to throw gasoline on the fire. Monday morning, I walked into school to find something taped on my locker. Big, bold, laminated like somebody put effort into this. A fake NASA badge with my face on it. Title: Chief Janitor, Space Division. The hallway roared. Phones out, pictures snapping, hashtags popping. I ripped it down so fast the tape burned my fingers, but the damage? Already viral. And through it all, Ms. Thompson stood at the end of the hall, sipping her herbal tea like this was just another sunny day. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Her silence was a sermon. That night, I didn't cry. Didn't break. I wrote 10 pages of equations, plans, goals, like if I wrote enough, I could cage the chaos. Because when the world laughs, the only thing louder than their noise is your grind. But deep down, I knew something was coming. Something big. Because you can only push a man so far before he pushes back. By the time March rolled in, my life felt like a pressure cooker with the lid rattling. Between school, work, bills, and the constant clown show at Jefferson High, I was one bad day away from snapping. And guess what? That bad day showed up early and made itself comfortable. It started with an announcement over the intercom. All seniors report to the auditorium for college readiness session. I grabbed my notebook, shoulders tight, stomach knotted like bad wires. These sessions were supposed to prepare us for the future, which really meant remind you how behind you are compared to kids with money. The auditorium smelled like old wood and broken promises. Rows of folding chairs filled with restless seniors, half asleep, half scrolling TikTok. Up front, a projector screen screamed in big, bold letters, "Plan your realistic future." There it was again, that word, realistic, like a brick through my chest. Counselor Rivera took the mic, smiling like this was a pep rally instead of a dream funeral. "Not everyone needs college to succeed," she said, clicking to a slide of smiling electricians and welders. "Trades are a great option. Don't get me wrong, Nothing wrong with trades, honest work. But the way she said it, the way her eyes found me in that crowd like a heat-seeking missile, it was a message wrapped in a smile. Lower your aim, Marcus. And then Ms. Thompson spoke, because of course she did. She took the stage in her pastel blazer, radiating fake warmth. We want you to think about goals that match your strengths, she cooed. And remember, college isn't for everyone. Her eyes landed on me like a spotlight. My jaw clenched so hard it could have cracked teeth. Every laugh, every whisper, every paper airplane taped to my locker came rushing back. I wanted to stand up and scream, "Stop using 'college isn't for everyone' as code for 'not for kids like me.' Stop pretending this is guidance when it's a verdict." But I stayed quiet, because if I exploded here, I'd prove every stereotype they prayed was true. When the session ended, Ms. Thompson intercepted me at the door like a border guard. "Marcus," she said, voice dipped in honey and venom, "you've got potential, but don't set yourself up for disappointment." I stared at her, heart pounding like bass in my ears. "Thanks for the advice," I said, words sharp enough to draw blood. Then I walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. That night, I hit my breaking point. Mama was at work, Layla asleep. The apartment was dark except for the glow of my laptop. I sat there staring at the word "wait list" until it burned into my retinas. My hands hovered over the keyboard, ready to withdraw my application. Quit before they could say no. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from Layla. A picture she drew. Me, in a graduation gown, holding a diploma bigger than my head. Underneath, in block letters, "Shoot for the stars, big bro." Man, I broke. Tears hit the keyboard so hard the keys clicked. Because how do you quit when somebody believes in you like that? You don't.
So instead of hitting withdraw, I hit apply on 3 more programs, stayed up till dawn writing essays, fueled by cold coffee and raw defiance. By sunrise, my hands shook, my eyes burned, but my soul was on fire. And just when I thought the worst humiliation was behind me, the school proved me wrong. The next day, the principal announced the nominees for the Senior Leadership Award. Guess who snagged a nomination? Jamal. The same dude who made a career out of clowning me. The same dude whose biggest achievement was going viral for a TikTok dance in the cafeteria. And guess who nominated him? Ms. Thompson. When his name boomed over the intercom, the hallway erupted like the 4th of July. Jamal strutted around like a peacock, grinning at me like he just stole my dream. I clenched my jaw so hard my temples throbbed. It wasn't about the award. It was about the message. That clown was being celebrated while I was being treated like a punchline. After school, I went to work like a man on autopilot, bagged groceries, smiled at strangers, all while my head replayed every laugh, every whisper, every "be realistic." Then it happened. A customer left a newspaper at the register. Front page story, "Local student accepted into Ivy League on full ride." Big photo of a smiling white kid in a crisp blazer, headline glowing like neon. I stared at it so long my boss barked, "Marcus, you gonna bag those or frame them?" I stuffed the groceries in silence, chest tight, throat burning. Because all I could think was, if he can do it, why can't I? What's the difference, besides the obvious? That night I didn't go to the roof. I went to war. Laptop open, papers flying, applications rolling out like ammunition. If the system was betting against me, I was doubling down. But here's the thing about war. It leaves scars, and I was stacking them like trophies. Because tomorrow was the day the game changed. Graduation week hit like a thunderclap. Loud, heavy, impossible to ignore. The hallways at Jefferson High buzzed with energy, kids counting down days like they were cashing checks. Caps and gowns hung in closets like unopened promises. Me? I wasn't feeling the joy. I was feeling the weight of every battle I fought to get here. On the surface, I played the part. Smile for yearbook photos, nod through senior meetings. But inside, it was like standing in the eye of a hurricane, calm for now, but knowing the walls of wind were coming for me. Monday started with cap and gown distribution. I stood in line with the rest, fingers tapping against my thigh like a metronome for nerves. Jamal was ahead of me, loud as ever, showing off a fresh haircut and bragging about the after-party he was throwing. "Yo, Marcus," he called over his shoulder, that smug grin glued to his face. "You bringing a rocket to graduation, or you still on standby?" Laughter rippled through the line. I didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stared at him until the grin twitched. Then I said, low and steady, "Don't worry about me, Jamal. Worry about staying on the ground when I take off." He snorted, turned back, but I caught the flicker in his eyes. For once, the joke didn't land clean. That night, Mama ironed my gown on the kitchen table. Her hands moved slow, careful, like she was smoothing out every wrinkle life had thrown at me. "You ready for this?" she asked, her voice soft but carrying weight. "Ready as I'll ever be," I said. She looked up, eyes shining like wet glass. "Marcus, no matter what happens, you made it. You hear me? You made it." I swallowed hard because if I opened my mouth, the truth would spill. About the doubts, the weightless, the war inside me. Instead, I nodded, forcing a smile that felt stitched on. Layla bounced in, holding a glitter-covered sign that read, "Shoot for the stars, big bro." She waved it like a victory flag, her little face beaming with pride too big for the room. And just like that, my chest loosened. Because if this little girl believed I could touch the sky, who was I to argue? Tuesday brought another hit, college decision letters. The hallway turned into a confessional, kids ripping envelopes like lottery tickets, cheers here, tears there, dreams blooming and dying in real time. I didn't check mine. Couldn't. Not yet. I shoved the email notification deep into my pocket like a secret too dangerous to touch. Because opening it now, in this chaos, nah, I'd wait. I'd open it when the noise died down, when I could face whatever answer waited for me alone. Wednesday was rehearsal day, rows of folding chairs on the football field, names called in the slow rhythm as we practiced the walk that was supposed to mean everything. Miss Thompson stood off to the side, clipboard in hand, calling instructions with that same syrupy tone. When my name hit the mic, I felt her eyes pierce through me like twin nails. "Marcus Carter," the announcer boomed. I walked across that stage like it was a battlefield. Head high, steps steady, but inside, a storm. When I reached the center, Miss Thompson smiled. That thin, brittle smile that hides knives. "Big day coming," she said quietly as I passed. "Make it count." Make it count. My fists curled at my sides. Oh, I planned to. That night, I sat on the roof one last time before the big day. The city sprawled below like a sleeping giant, and the stars, those stubborn little lights, winked at me like old friends. I pulled out my phone, opened the email I'd been dodging for 2 days. My hands shook as I read, "Dear Marcus Carter, congratulations. You have been accepted into the College of Engineering with a full scholarship." For a second, the world blurred. I read it again, slow, making sure my eyes weren't playing tricks. Full scholarship, not waitlist, not maybe, yes. I laughed, loud, raw, the kind of laugh that tears through years of chains. Then I cried, face buried in my hands, tears hot enough to scald. Because this wasn't just an email, it was proof. Proof that every late night, every insult, every paper airplane taped to my locker wasn't in vain. But I didn't tell anyone. Not Mama, not Layla, not yet. Because tomorrow the stage would speak for me. Graduation morning hit different. The sun rose sharp and bright, like even the sky wanted front row seats to this show. The whole apartment hummed with energy. Mama was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes like they were tickets to freedom. Layla zipped through the hallway with glitter still on her cheeks from last night, waving her sign like a banner in a victory parade. "You ready to walk across that stage, Mr. Future?" Mama grinned, sliding a plate in front of me. I forced a casual shrug, but inside my pulse was kicking like a bass drum. Yeah, I said, voice steady as I could make it. She kissed my forehead, leaving a smudge of lipstick like a battle mark. Make them remember your name. Oh, I planned to. The school gym was a whole other planet that afternoon. Rows of chairs gleamed under harsh lights, polished floors reflecting banners screaming, "Class of Champions." Parents packed the bleachers like an army of flashbulbs, phones raised, smiles stretched tight. I slipped into the sea of blue gowns, cap tucked under my arm, and scanned the room. Found Jamal holding court in the back, cracking jokes like he was hosting the BET Awards. Kids laughed, slapped his back, snapped selfies. Then I saw her, Miss Thompson, gliding across the floor in her pastel blazer, clipboard clutched like a badge of power. She moved from student to student, that signature smile never cracking, like she owned the script to our futures. Our eyes locked for a split second. Her lips curved in that polite little arc, the same one she wore when she told me to be realistic. I nodded back, cool as ice, while something hot and electric burned under my skin. They herded us into rows like soldiers about to march into battle. Names on cards, tassels straight, smiles rehearsed. Behind me, somebody whispered, "Yo, NASA boy, finally making orbit." Snickers followed, thin and sharp as paper cuts. I didn't flinch, didn't turn, because the truth? Their voices were background noise now. The only sound I heard was the drum in my chest and the voice in my head. Make it count. As the principal took the mic, the room buzzed with applause and fake cheer. He launched into the usual graduation sermon. Dreams, futures, making a difference. Words that sounded sweet but fell flat when you've seen how quick those same systems can clip wings. Then the roll call began. One by one, names thundered through the speakers, each student strutting across the stage to cheers and camera flashes. Jamal went early. He danced across that stage like it was showtime at the Apollo, bowing and mugging for the cameras. The crowd roared. Ms. Thompson beamed like a proud parent. And me? I sat stone still, fingers drumming against my knee, feeling the heat rise with every name closer to mine. Finally, the announcer's voice boomed. "Marcus Carter." The gym tilted, or maybe it was just me standing, slow and steady, legs heavy as concrete, but moving like they had purpose carved into their bones. Every eye in that gym locked on me as I walked down the aisle, past rows of clapping hands, past Ms. Thompson's gaze sharp enough to slice steel. When I hit the stage steps, the lights blinded me for half a breath. Then I was up there standing dead center in the glare, the whole world holding its breath. The principal extended his hand, diploma in the other. I gripped it, shook firm, the weight of 1,000 nights of grind pressing against my palm. And then, that moment stretched like taffy. Cameras flashed like lightning. My heart pounded so loud I swore the mic picked it up.
And, in that frozen second, I knew. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about Mama, Layla, every kid who ever got laughed at for dreaming too loud. I tightened my grip on the mic stand. The room waited. The air vibrated. And then, the mic was cold under my fingers, metal humming with the weight of 1,000 stares. The crowd shifted like a restless tide, bleachers creaking under the pressure of bodies leaning in. Phones hovered in the air like tiny spotlights, ready to immortalize this moment. I could feel my heart punching against my ribs, each beat a warning and a war drum at the same time. I glanced out into that ocean of faces and found Mama, hands clasped tight, like she was praying me across the finish line. Layla sat beside her, sign glittering in her lap, eyes bright enough to light the whole gym. Then my gaze slid left, to Ms. Thompson. Standing at the edge of the stage, clipboard clutched to her chest like armor, lips curved in that brittle smile that had haunted me for months. She thought she knew how this would go. She thought this was just another kid walking across a stage, collecting a paper, and disappearing into mediocrity. Not today. I leaned into the mic, voice steady but sharp enough to cut glass. First off, thank you. A polite ripple of applause broke out, the kind folks give when they're half listening. Thank you to the people who believed in me, I continued, letting my eyes find Mama again, then Layla. And thank you to the ones who didn't. The applause hesitated, confused. Murmurs rustled through the crowd like dry leaves. Ms. Thompson's smile twitched. See, I said, my voice rising. When I said I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, some folks laughed. Some said it was unrealistic. Some told me to think smaller, be practical, stay in my lane. Now the room was silent. The kind of silence that feels alive, like it's breathing down your neck. But here's the thing, I said, pulling the folded paper from my pocket. The letter I'd read 100 times under the stars. I held it high, my hand steady, my soul on fire. This right here says otherwise. Gasps rippled through the gym as I unfolded it slow, letting the bold print scream for me. Full scholarship, College of Engineering. Cameras flashed like lightning strikes. Cheers erupted from the back rows, building into a roar that shook the rafters. The bleachers became a storm of clapping hands, stomping feet, voices chanting my name like a battle cry. I let it wash over me for half a breath, then dropped the final hammer. So, to anyone out there who's ever been told to dream smaller, I leaned in, eyes locked on the lens of every phone in that gym. Don't. Make your dreams so big, they choke on them. The place exploded. Teachers gaped. Students screamed. Mama was on her feet, tears streaking her face like victory paint. Layla waved her sign so hard the glitter fell like confetti. And Ms. Thompson? She froze. That smile cracked clean down the middle. For the first time, she looked small. Like a queen who just realized the throne ain't hers anymore. I walked off that stage calm, deliberate, like a man who knew the game had flipped. The diploma in one hand, the letter in the other. Not just paper, but proof. Proof that grit beats doubt. Proof that a kid from a leaky roof apartment can outfly every cage they try to lock him in. When I hit the gym doors, the air outside slapped me warm and bright. Mama ran up, wrapped me so tight I thought my ribs would snap. "You did it, baby," she whispered, voice breaking like dawn. "Ah," I said, smiling through the tears that finally broke free. We did. Layla jumped on me next. Sign crumpled between us, giggling through her own tears. "Told you, big bro. Shoot for the stars." And for the first time in months, the sky didn't feel far. It felt like home. Later that night, when the noise died and the city slept, I climbed back to my rooftop. Same stars, same quiet, but everything different. I pulled out that letter, let the cool wind kiss its edges, and whispered into the dark, "They said, be realistic." Guess what? Reality just got a promotion.